right, time to do Lab 16, Washingtonville CSI. So today you're going to be solving a crime. Ooh. Welcome to your shift at Washingtonville CSI. Today we have a very difficult case in our hands. Police have just informed us that Mrs. Kiernan's Pez dispenser has been stolen right out of her desk. The only bit of physical evidence that we have is a note left by the kidnappers. It's written in blank ink and reads, "You've been bad," Goofy says. "That's why I came and stole your Pez." Oh, gives me goosebumps. It's written in black ink. And a militant group of Disney theme park employees have claimed responsibility for the kidnapping of this prized Pez dispenser. We've actually had a sketch artist do a sketch from descriptions, and what we are looking for, ladies and gentlemen, looks something like this as a three-dimensional rendering of what we are looking for. So anyway, this militant group of Disney theme park employees has claimed responsibility for it. They cited the continuous abuse and neglect of this Pez dispenser by Mrs. Kiernan as the motivation for the kidnapping. They say that this Pez dispenser has been left in her desk, forgotten for weeks at a time. It is thought that these members of this faction are a few sandwiches short of a picnic basket, but they did commit this heinous crime and should be brought to justice. The Disney security team has narrowed the search for the suspects down to the four leaders of this faction. They are, I'll show you the faces of evil, Frankie Fahrenheit, height 76 inches, gender male, weight 184 pounds, age 29, location Tampa, Florida, Disney job, hot dog vendor, email doglover@2005@aol.com. Cindy Celsius, height 5'2", gender female, weight not telling you, age how rude, location Jordan, Montana, Disney job is promotions, email gorgeous@msn.com. Robbie Rankine, height 29 inches, gender unknown, weight 42 pounds, age 67, location Ernie's house, Disney job fireworks tech, email evilbert@kaboom.net. And Kenny Kelvin, height 82 inches, gender male, weight 212 pounds, age 33, location Bill, Wyoming, Disney job ride tester, email we@joyride.org. Disclaimer, all email addresses here are meant to be fictional. Do not email these people demanding the Pez dispenser back, because if they really are the real email addresses, the nice people you contact will think you are off your rocker. All right, anyway, their desk materials have been confiscated, and it has been found that these four suspects each use a different brand of black pen. Here are the confiscated materials. Pen number 1 belongs to Frankie Fahrenheit. Pen number 2 belongs to Cindy Celsius. Pen number 3 belongs to Robbie Rankine. And pen number 4 belongs to Kenny Kelvin. The four pens are in our possession. It is our job as forensic investigators to match up the kidnapping note with one of the four pens that belong to this radical group. You'll do your experiments and write up your results in the form of a police report. The best technique to use to determine which pen wrote the note is to use paper chromatography. This is a process that can be used to separate a mixture on the basis of molecular polarity. A mixture? Ink? Why, yes. Especially black ink. Black ink is a mixture of many pigments which, when combined, give a black color. Each company's black ink is proprietary, unique to that company. No two companies use exactly the same mixture of pigments in their ink. This fact is what we will use to identify the pen that wrote the note. In order to perform paper chromatography, we will need to use a stationary phase that is non-polar. A stationary phase is an adsorbent material, that's adsorbent, that makes substances with similar polarities stick to it. That's adsorbent, not absorbent. Adsorbent means that things stick to its surface. We will use filter paper for our adsorbent phase, for our stationary phase. Since nonpolar molecules attract other nonpolar molecules, nonpolar pigments will stick well to the nonpolar paper. We will also need a mobile phase, such as water. A mobile phase is a solvent that can dissolve substances with the same kind of polarity in it. Water is polar and attracts other polar molecules to it. See how it will work? The nonpolar pigments will stick onto the paper, while polar pigments will be attracted to the water. We can separate the pigments this way. The mixture to be separated, the ink, will be placed in the center in the middle of a piece of filter paper. A drop of water will be added to this ink using a dropper pipette. I have a dropper pipette right here. The water will spread out from the center, taking the most polar pigments with it and leaving the less polar, and therefore more nonpolar pigments behind. This will appear as an ink stain spreading through the paper. As soon as the first drop soaks in, you will add another drop. This will cause the water to spread out further, carrying the polar pigments further. Eventually, the pigments will begin to separate. The most polar pigment will spread out the farthest, right to the edge of where the water spread out, because it is attracted to the polar water mobile phase and not the nonpolar paper stationary phase. The most nonpolar pigments won't spread out at all, because they are attracted to the nonpolar paper and not at all attracted to the polar water. There may be many other pigments. They will spread out to different distances depending on the molecular polarity. More polar molecules will spread out farther, more nonpolar molecules will spread out less. By seeing how far out the color stains spread, we can match one ink sample to another and bust a very bad criminal and recover Mrs. Kiernan's Pez dispenser. I have our suspects in holding right here under our fume hood. We will search whichever suspect we think committed this crime. Okay. All right, the first thing we want to do is place our evidence. We have samples from the note right here. We're going to take a pair of tweezers and we are going to remove one single piece of evidence from this and place it in the center of our filter paper labeled E for evidence. And then what we want to do is we want to make ink spots using the other 4 pieces of paper the same size. So for pen number 1, we'll make an ink spot. For pen number 2, we will make an ink spot. For pen number 3, we will make an ink spot. And for pen number 4, we will make an ink spot. We have now loaded each of our chromatographs with our mixture. We must now add the mobile phase to separate it. In order to prevent the color from smearing on the table, I will place each of these chromatograms on a little plastic hoop to keep it up off the table. Now we can begin adding water from a dropper pipette. Now let's have a look at each chromatogram, and from the innermost color to the outermost color, write down what colors you see for each pen and for the evidence, and then which pen do you think wrote the note based on that evidence. Okay, now that you've finished collecting your data, figure out who done it. Pause the video until you've written your police report, and then we will investigate further. Did you say it was suspect 1? Frankie Fahrenheit? Nope. Did you say it was suspect 2? Cindy Celsius? Ha 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 ha! We have recovered the Pez dispenser. Robbie Rankine? Didn't do it. Kelvin? Didn't do it. So that's it for the chromatography lab. Just finished writing it up. You'll have some questions to answer about which pigments are most polar or most non-polar. And of course, pigments are what swine use to freshen their breath. Pigments. Sorry. Bye.